recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios, Meanjin, Brisbane.
On 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Zed Games.
Zed Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out?
Share your hot take?
Or do you just want to share your favourite game?
Find us on socials at Zed Games AU.
Welcome to another installment of Zed Games. My name is Hazel, and who have I got here in the studio with me tonight?
You have Tom.
And...
Caroline.
Yay!
Woo!
Yeah.
Huzzah.
How are you both?
I'm alive. I'm kicking. I've been playing some video games, so I'm happy.
What kind of video games?
Oh, yeah. Many different types, sometimes all at once.
Full ADHD mode, multitasking different video games.
Big screen, little screen.
A few clickers, a couple on one screen, and then like Balatro on the other screen. And
yeah, now we're talking.
Yes.
What about you, Tom?
Always Balatro.
Yes.
Always Balatro?
No, at the moment I've been playing a lot of Devil May Cry 1.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like the original?
Yeah.
Nice.
Ooh.
It's a good game. It's hard. I'm not used to... I've gotten too coddled by new games and their checkpoints. I'm not used to having to buy back my own lives for retries. And I'm also not used to having to buy all of my moves in my moveset. You don't get the double jump to start. You gotta buy a double jump. Outrageous.
Well, at least you start with a jump.
Back in my day, we had to buy our double jumps. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's good.
Back in my day, we had to rocket jump uphill both ways to school in the snow.
You gotta pay to reinforce your knees so that your knees can take the force of the double jump. That's how it works.
Sure. Well, Tom, I understand you've brought something for us to dig our teeth into.
Yeah. There is a game that I've been ruminating on for a long, long time.
I think ruminating is the right word. I imagine you chewing on it like a cow chews on cud.
Oh my gosh. It is. So I'm talking about Y2K, a postmodern RPG, which is a bit weird. It was released in 2019, but they recently, as in December, put out a massive story and gameplay update that they worked on for like 3 years, and it made the game both better and worse. And
you, as the world's number one Y2K postmodern RPG fan, jumped on that and played it all and absorbed it all, and you're going to spit it out for us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not on the mic.
Not right now, but later in the show.
Yeah. So it's we'll hear about good, bad games.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, we have to talk, listeners.
Oh, I don't like that phrase.
We need to talk about the Indie Dev Night that is coming up at Netherworld next Thursday, 27th of February, starting at 6 p.m., I believe, Tom?
Yeah.
Nice.
If
that
you
was
can
off the
turn up
dome.
at 6 p.m., that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You can show up earlier and just drink until then.
It'll be in Netherworld's Lost Souls Karaoke space, and there will be a bunch of local indie devs bringing their weird games for you to play. And this time, we nabbed a bunch of people who were participating in the Global Game Jam for this year. So we have got some very interesting weird games. I'm going to tease one, which is Millennium Net, where you explore the crash site of the late Millennium Net, a once thriving digital community that has long since been cast to the waves.
Ooh.
Hear the echoes of those who cherished it and bask in the memories of a dying era. This one, when I saw the devs putting it together at the Game Jam, they described it as a interactive wallpaper, or a screensaver.
Okay.
It's really interesting, and I'm excited to see people interact with it.
Yeah. I'm excited to interact with it.
You'll hear more about some of the games that we've got showing there later on, and for now, we have got some news to talk about. It's time for the Week in Gaming News.
Woo! Pew, 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 pew.
This week in gaming news, for our very first story, somebody uploaded malware to Steam as a free-to-play game that you could download, and it seems like quite a few people downloaded it.
A few. There was like 5 peak players, and I think maybe like 1,000 people tops downloaded it, maybe a few more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it seems weird that it hasn't happened already. I mean, Steam's pretty safe. Like, that was kind of like the whole point of Steam, is that it was like, oh yeah, like you're not going to get a horrible virus for downloading stuff from Steam. That's why it got so big, right? It was like a safe installer.
Yeah.
not just downloading exe files and
Doing
playing
it yourself.
Yeah, playing Russian roulette, whether or not it's gonna brick a computer.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, somebody uploaded a game called Pirate Fi. It's a survival game where the open sea is your playground. It looks like a very blatant asset flip.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people got messages from Steam administration after installing it saying, sorry you installed this, but actually your computer is probably infected with malware now from the game that was on our store. We're sorry, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, some people have been hacked because the malware was just designed to steal browser cookies. And so,
Yep.
they've been hacked and
Browser cookies is where, like, your credit card number lives. Moving on to our next story, Dungeons and Dragons TV show? Do you want to take this one away, Caroline?
Yeah, sure. The Deadpool and Wolverine director, Sean Levy, is apparently working on a live-action Dungeons and Dragons show for Netflix, which will be produced by Levy's production company in tandem with Hasbro Entertainment. Apparently, the story will be unrelated to the earlier Dungeons and Dragons movie Honor Among Thieves and will instead be an all-new story. Scraping IPs again for money. I find it hard to be excited.
I heard the movie was okay.
The movie's great.
Oh, it was pretty good.
Okay.
It was.
I just find it so like when somebody says we're making a Dungeons and Dragons movie, I'm like, but Dungeons and Dragons doesn't have a story. You make it up.
It's a setting, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to see a beholder. There'll be a mimic somewhere.
Yeah.
Like someone will cast fireball.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be a barbarian.
Picture, like, the most generic possible thing, and that makes me sad. We don't have to keep talking about that.
I'm
because
optimistic.
We've got tons and tons of news. Is this a weekly segment now? Layoffs? More layoffs, this time at 1010 Games, apparently due to the complete commercial and critical failure of
Funko
the game,
Fusion.
Funko Fusion, which is a devastating phrase to be used.
It's a game about Funko Pops. Ooh.
Yeah,
it's a game
did
about
you
Funko Pops, but
expect?
also like
I mean,
the complete commercial and critical failure of the game is...
it looked like it was like Lego Dimensions or like Disney Infinity, except for Funko Pops, right?
Yes.
And you didn't sign in
And, like,
with Funko Pops.
The Funko Pops are already just the real life plastic version of Disney Infinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Marvel Rivals, which is doing a lot better than... What was it called again?
Funko Fusion.
Funko
How
Fusion.
dare you? You can play as Freddy Fazbear in that game.
I'm so sorry, 1010 Games, and everybody who's been laid off for not remembering the name of your game. But I did remember the name of Marvel Rivals, which is a lot more successful, but has also laid off a bunch of their staff. Because welcome to the industry.
I think I read something like right before I came in that apparently the whole team was laid off.
They did also state that they were planning on releasing, like, a new character every 2 months or something like that.
Which is terrifying.
So, like, there should be someone still in that office.
There should be.
Should
but apparently
be.
there's not.
Who knows?
But, yeah, I think the quote from, like, the head developer was, like, I don't understand this industry.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
No-
me either,
we made,
buddy.
like,
Nobody does.
one of the most popular games right now, and we're still losing team members. Like, just
What's going
wild.
on? Why
Like,
are you just firing everybody,
But if
even
we-
when they're winning?
if we're making so much money, if we fire half of our people, think of how much more money goes around. It looks
Yeah.
like we made extra money.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's a lot to do with investors and stock stuff that I don't understand.
Well, Bethesda is auctioning off the chance to become an NPC in the Elder Scrolls 6, and it's for a charity auction for Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is kind of nice. It's just interesting that they are auctioning off the chance to be an NPC in a game that doesn't exist and will never come out.
Hey, how dare you? With this, didn't they promote it using like the same photo from when they announced Elder Scrolls 6?
Yes.
Like, how many
or
years
at
ago?
least it looked nearly identical to my memory of the E3 trailer for Elder Scrolls 6 that I think was 2016.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
I don't even remember
And Skyrim came out in 2011. It is now 2025 if you're listening to this live. So anyway,
but still,
I'll believe Elder Scrolls 6 exists when I see it.
But it would be cool to be an NPC in it. Like that's a very neat prize.
Yeah.
It's the sort
and
of thing.
It's for charity, so like...
Yeah.
They have raised the bid that's winning right now. Well, when I wrote this was $33,050.
Damn.
$33,000 to be an NPC in a game that will never come out.
And it's probably gone up since then.
At least it's for sick kids.
Yep, huzzah. Anyway,
Moving on to the news nibbles.
News nibbles short. Oh, Nintendo's
Pokemon Day is
discontinuing
coming
gold
up.
points. That too, but more importantly, Pokemon Day is coming up on the 27th, if I remember correctly. And I probably do not.
21st, Yeeeek Games is giving out...
No, that's a different thing. Yeah,
Nope.
27th is Pokemon Day, but on the 21st, EB Games is giving out the winners of the Pokemon card design contest that went on a while ago.
Oh,
And if
right.
you spend some money, you can get those 3 cards for free. This was the competition that had a bit of controversy because there was some AI entries and somebody entered under multiple names and
those were all very AI looking things.
they were very, very AI.
So
They were very clearly AI.
Hopefully
And
they're a bit on top of things and can work out what is a legit, genuine artist's depiction of a Poliwag.
for next time, maybe. Anyway, there's also some new Sonic Squishmallows being released. And there's been a Deltarune update from Toby Fox. Apparently chapters 3 and 4 are still going to be released this year. And they're testing on consoles.
Oh, there we go.
There's a lot of things to go through and a lot of bugs to squash.
You know what? That's good. Let's end on a good note.
Yes, we can do
Deltarune
that.
getting an update this year, releasing chapters 3 and 4. Upcoming game releases on the 20th of February, we've got Tribe 9 for PC, iOS, and Android. Ash and Arrows for MetaQuest, Pico, and Steam VR. Star of Providence for Nintendo Switch. On the 21st of February, we've got Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC.
Yeah.
PGA Tour 2K25 for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds for PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. That's coming out already?
Apparently.
Die in the Dungeon on PC. Whisker Squadron Survivor on PlayStation, which sounds very cute and also very dark. On the 25th of February, we've got Ninja 5.0 on PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Blade and Soul Neo for PC. Godzilla X Kong Titan Chasers for iOS and Android. And on the 26th of February, we've got Icy Red coming out on Nintendo Switch. And that's all this week in gaming news.
You're listening to Zed Games at 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Zed Games on 4ZZZ.
Oi mate, you're listening to Zed Games at 4ZZZ.
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 Got a bit carried away.
You're listening to Zed Games here on 4ZZZ. My name's Hazel, and I'm here in the studio with Caroline.
Yo.
And Tom, who has brought us a review of... I mean, do we even call it a review? I feel like it's more of a deep dive discussion.
Yeah, there's more to it than just the game.
There's a lot to talk about, but to start us off, we've got to play the review intro.
Review intro. Yeeeek. Postmodern RPG. Yeeeek. Postmodern RPG.
Yeek. Hey!
Yeek, 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 yeek.
We're talking about Yeeek, a most post.
We're talking about, well...
Take it away, Tom.
So, we're talking about Y2K, a postmodern RPG. Have you ever seen a movie that was so bad it was good?
Many times. I love them.
Yeah, well, chances are you can probably name a few, like Tommy Wiseau's The Room or Neil Breen's Fateful Findings, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Now, it's arguable to say what makes a piece of media so bad it's good, but my theory is that there needs to be a genuine effort behind it and a clear creative vision for it to be truly compelling. Enter Y2K. In January of 2019, Axe Studios, headed by brothers Brian and Andrew Allenson, released their second game, which is titled Y2K, a postmodern RPG. Now, that is Y2K spelt with Roman numerals, but they used lowercase Roman numerals a lot, so it looks like it's spelled Yeeek.
Yeah.
So fans and haters alike often refer to the game as Yeeek.
What a legacy.
Yeah, so we'll be referring to the game as Yeeek, lovingly, and later on...
hatefully.
Yes. So on its initial release in 2019, it was critically panned. People criticized the writing. They cited it, saying it was confusing at best and cringeworthy at worst. The gameplay was derivative and mediocre. The music felt intentionally irritating, and the ending was convoluted and unsatisfying. So the game was clowned on big time. Memes were made, and it was a punching bag for people looking to dunk on modern/Western-made indie RPGs.
Those are all things that I want people to say about my second project.
Yes. Like it's one that you worked on very closely with your brother and families. It was, yeah. So, needless to say, Andrew Allenson, one of the creators, the writer and composer on the game, had a number of very public outbursts during this time, lashing out at his detractors, stating that they were too immature to truly understand what he was going for. And to a point, he was right. There were some actually genuinely interesting concepts and moments within the game, and they were largely dismissed by others because it was just more fun to tease him and the game. So in 2021, Axe Studios announced that they were going to work on an update for Yeeek, including a complete rehaul of the battle system, new cutscenes with more character development for party members, and more. Essentially acting as a response to the harsh criticisms the game faced. And after almost 3 years of hard work, the update, titled Y2K 1.5, would release.
But it's not spelled like that. It's spelled with Roman numerals.
It's Yeek
so
IV.
It's Yeek-iv.
Yeekiv.
But yeah, so what is Yeeek actually about? The game is set in the year of 1999. You take control of Alex Eggleston, a recently graduated philosophy major who is...
Oh no, not philosophy.
Yeah. It's very integral to his character. He is returning home to town for the first time since graduating college. So here lies the first problem. Alex is incredibly unlikable as a protagonist. He looks like a hipster from the 2010s, talks way too much, and is entirely self-absorbed and immature. So people made fun of that a lot, but that's also kind of the point of the game. He's supposed to be the opposite of the typical silent protagonist for an RPG. And he is often called out by other characters for being insensitive and rude. And it's almost seen as like a cosmic unluckiness that the world revolves around him.
It's like, unfortunately, this guy is the main character.
Yeah, and I will talk about some minor spoilers later on, which insulted me a little bit about Alex. But yeah, so shortly after his arrival home, he's sent out to get groceries, and then a cat steals his grocery list. And then he gets led to an abandoned building to find the grocery list. And he meets a girl named Sammy Park. She's like speaking strangely. She seems to have like one foot in reality. And they kind of bond a bit.
Oh no, is she a manic pixie dream girl?
In a way. She's more of like it's like the first adult woman he's talked to in a long time, so he's just kind of infatuated with her.
Woof.
Yikes.
And yeeks. And, but so while they're bonding and like they're adventuring around this abandoned building, they're in an elevator, and then the elevator doors rip open, and then some weird alien looking guys come in and they grab her and they take her away. And then like this ripping the reality that they're in closes up and she's gone. So he runs home, he's freaked out. And the game then becomes about Alex's focus on finding where Sammy went and trying to understand all that.
But did he get his grocery list back?
He forgets about the grocery list.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, when you go back to your house, you can click on the fridge, and he's like, my mum should really go shopping for groceries.
Oh.
Like, and you're like, this guy, I hate him so much. So yeah. Now, one quick thing to note about the missing Sammy Park. You meet up with your friend Michael, who designed a website for him that's dedicated to investigating the paranormal. And that's where a lot of the game's subquests and stuff come through. But while you're on there, they're like, hey, let's check to see if someone's like seen anything about her. And you are shown some images and GIFs of Sammy being disappeared. And those GIFs are... It's set before Alex met her. So he met her after she disappeared. But the important thing to note is those images are very reminiscent and are clearly inspired by the real-life missing person case of Elisa Lam. And they are recreated within the game's engine, and it is kind of upsetting that this real-life missing person case was used as a game talking point.
Absolutely, and it's a missing person case with a very tragic ending that we will not be discussing.
No, we will not. So yeah. Anyway, he decides he wants to understand the paranormal, so they end up meeting a girl named Vela, who teaches them about spirit entities and how to enter their own personal mind dungeons, and which is essentially leveling up in the game. And she has experience like crossing dimensions, and she's the one who has all the know-how about all this sci-fi stuff.
So she should be the main character.
Yeah, I like her a lot. She's cool. She fights with a keytar. It's a postmodern RPG, so no one uses actual weapons in the game. The main character is equipped with a vinyl record. Michael uses a camera. And yeah. Anyway, the game, like, with all your partners, it seems like they're supposed to be experiencing loss and working together to, explore and find out what happened to Sammy. And up until they find out there's a looming threat on Y2K, or New Year's Eve. So the team has to work together to try and stop the end of the world on Y2K. And that is the main game. So Y2K, or Yeeeek 1.5, what does the update change? Well, there's a new battle system. So the original system was like a clunky Paper Mario style turn-based RPG with like little mini games, but they took way too long and fights would take forever. There were random battles, but the game would load. So you'd be in the overworld and you run into a random battle, and then it'd go, you gotta fight. And then like the game would actually have a little percentage loader in the corner, and you're like, that's so...
You're just sitting there for ages.
Yeah, especially knowing that the beauty of random battles is the fact that they can preload the battles before they launch you into them.
Yeah.
So this time around, instead, the enemies are all on the overworld, so you can avoid them. But there is a new card-based system with an elemental affinity chart with strengths and weaknesses that I never bothered to learn. Because it doesn't matter, because you can just plow through the enemies really easy. Also, it doesn't matter that there's an elemental chart because you can't swap your party members out. So each character has their own single affinity. It's not like they have a fire spell, they have a water spell. There's like, no, this one is wood type. And you're like, okay, so
And
if
you're
I
just
just
stuck with that.
Yeah, until they die in the fight, and then the next one comes in automatically. So if
Do you even get to like choose the order that they come in?
oh yeah, you can do that,
Okay.
but like you won't know what you're fighting against until you're fighting against them.
Right. Yeah.
So that was annoying. And the new cutscenes in the game do provide some extra character development. I mentioned Michael earlier. He's the character that made the paranormal forum. It's now shown that he has like an ulterior motive, and he knows way more than he's letting on. And he's kind of trying to steer the story in the right direction. And that's kind of fun. They also gave him a gun.
Oh, okay.
Because everyone made fun of the fact that these characters why don't they just have a gun? So in this one, if he's the last character that's alive, he will straight up like pull out a gun.
He just pulls out
and
the gun.
it's almost an instant kill. So it's actually really fun to see him just like... He has a secret move that you can unlock that blinds the rest of your party so they don't know that he's got a gun out. And so that's kind of cool. But yeah, there's... Like, most of the cast still don't have a resolution to their story arcs, even though they have these extra scenes. It's a lot of extra scenes of weird, dreamlike dialogue, very Twin Peaks-like. And they constantly tell you, don't worry, things will make sense later on.
Do they?
No, they never do.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they don't. Not only do they not tell you what was going on, they tell you it doesn't matter what was going on. They were lying to you this whole time, and you're like, oh, so you're wasting my time. Great.
Yay.
So the actual worst part of the Y2K 1.5 update are these new interstitial chapters. So in between each major story beat or dungeon in the main game, they give you a Yeeeek 1.5 chapter, in which you play as the missing sister of Alex or Rory, another party member you get.
Mm-hmm.
And they are puzzle-like sections that are really annoying with... It's dialogue-based puzzles, and you walk around and you can step in the wrong thing and you have to start it all over. There's a Resident Evil tank control style section that's really annoying.
This all sounds awful.
And the whole time everyone's talking to you in like weird analogs and metaphors, and none of it makes any sense. And once you finish the whole game, she has no real involvement in the story. You are lumped with the surprise, there is actually Y2K2 is included in the Y2K 1.5 update, in which you play as a weird celestial night girl who teams up with a crow boy to fight other sort of entities. And
Interesting.
Very Tumblr.
The really interesting part here is in between each of those story beats, you have to play through those 1.5 chapters again, where you play as Rory or Rory or Alex's sister again. But this time, all the characters make sense. So they're no longer talking to you in the dreamlike dialogue and metaphors. They're instead saying like, hey, Alex really needs you. Or like Rory's going through a tough time after losing his sister. And it's like, why didn't you just give me these the first time around? So you have to play through each of those chapters in between Yeeek's Y2K2.
Yeah.
You have to play through each of those interstitial chapters again, except the second time they make sense and are good and have good character development and interesting gameplay. It's just the regular RPG gameplay, but it's better. And it's like, why didn't you just do that the first time around?
Do any of the first characters appear in the second game apart from in those between chapters?
No.
So it has nothing to do with the second game?
It does. Actually, sorry, the villains turn up. The endgame villains are represented.
Oh, I mean like the between chapters have nothing to do with the second game then?
Kind of. They team up at the end to fight the final boss.
Oh, okay.
And that's about it. It wasted my time. It toyed me around. It didn't give me any answers to the questions I wanted, and made some things better, but made things also much, much worse. Y2K 1.5 was a lot of work. The music is way better, I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was... wow, what a time.
Waste of time, waste of potential, waste of download bandwidth.
Yeah, and it was almost more entertaining when you could just play the original one and look at that potential it had. Look at the good things it had where you're like, wow, that could be really cool.
Yeah. But then they actually heard that and they went, oh, some people think it could be cool. What if we tried and fixed it? And then they just got it all wrong.
Yes, that's kind of the idea. I am interested to see what they eventually make again. I want to see them make new things. But, man, oh man, Y2K, yeek. More like yikes, am I right?
Yeeks.
Yeah, I would not necessarily recommend Y2K unless you're curious about it. You can
or masochistic enough.
Yeah. Wait for it to go on sale, heavily on sale.
That's the end of our review of Y2K, a postmodern RPG, and Y2K 1.5 or Yeek IV. Or to be honest, the first time I saw it written down, I thought it was Yeek 4, as in IV, the actual Roman numerals.
Imagine if he never makes a new game
V.
and just keeps on adding on to Yeek.
They threatened to make.
They should do that.
They threatened to make a Yeek OVA, but no more Yeek games. So.
Huh. Well, that's our time for tonight. So thank you very much for listening, everybody. And I will just remind you again, if you're listening live, next week, the 27th of February 2025, at Netherworld's Lost Souls Karaoke Space, we will be hosting a indie dev night. A bunch of local Brisbane developers will be bringing in weird games that they've made, and you're going to get to play them, and you might be one of the only people who gets to play them in the state that they're currently in. So come on down, give it a try. Play some weird stuff, have some fun, meet some people, talk to the devs. And we are going to say good night, goodbye, we love you. Thank you so much for listening.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for putting us in your ear holes again.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games.
If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on the Community Radio Plus app.
Or find us on socials at Zed Games AU.
See you next time.